The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Hundreds of alien species, each more bizarre than the last, filled the vast chamber. Some floated in anti-gravity bubbles, others slithered on multiple tentacles, and a few even existed as pure energy forms. At the center of it all stood High Counselor Zax Terra, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Order, order in the council. Zax Terra's voice boomed, amplified by the hall's advanced acoustics. The chatter died down as all eyes turned to the High Counselor. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Zax Terra began, we gather today to discuss a matter of great importance. Our long-range scouts have discovered a new planet in the outer reaches of the galaxy. Its inhabitants call it Earth. A holographic image of Earth appeared above the council floor, spinning slowly to reveal its blue oceans and green continents. Fascinating, muttered a gelatinous blob to its neighbor, another water world. Zax Terra continued, our initial observations show that these humans have achieved some level of technological advancement. They have crude space travel capabilities and have even sent primitive probes beyond their solar system. Laughter rippled through the chamber. The idea that such basic technology could be considered an achievement was amusing to the advanced races present. However, Zax Terra's voice grew serious. They have also shown a concerning level of aggression and conflict among themselves. Their history is filled with wars and destruction. Images of human conflicts flashed across the holographic display. Tanks rolling across battlefields, missiles launching into the sky, and cities reduced to rubble. It is the opinion of the High Council that these humans pose a potential threat to galactic peace, Zax Terra declared. We propose immediate action to neutralize this threat before it can spread beyond their planet. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. The Galactic Council had dealt with upstart civilizations before, and they saw humans as just another primitive species to be put in its place. General Krovac, a hulking reptilian creature with battle scars crisscrossing his scales, stepped forward. High Counselor, I volunteer my fleet for this mission. We will crush these humans swiftly and decisively. Zax Terra nodded approvingly. Very well, General. Prepare your forces. We will launch a surprise attack on Earth in 3 solar cycles. As the council members filed out of the chamber, discussing the upcoming invasion, none of them noticed the small mouse-like creature hiding in the shadows. Pip, an intern from a minor species, had listened to the entire proceedings with growing horror. Pip scurried through the air vents of the massive space station that housed the Galactic Council. His tiny heart raced as he made his way to the communication center. He had to warn Earth somehow, even if it meant risking everything. Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued as usual. In New York City, Sarah Johnson, a brilliant young scientist, was presenting her latest research on clean energy to a group of investors. In Beijing, Li Wei, a skilled hacker, was uncovering a major corporate scandal. And in a small village in Africa, Amara Okafor was developing a new irrigation system to help her community thrive. None of them knew that high above, in the cold vastness of space, decisions were being made that would change their lives forever. As the sun set on another day on Earth, General Krovac stood on the bridge of his massive warship, overlooking his vast armada. Thousands of sleek, deadly vessels stretched out before him, each capable of destroying entire cities. Soon, he growled, his razor-sharp teeth glinting in the starlight, these humans will learn their place in the galaxy. Little did the general know, the humans he so casually dismissed were about to prove themselves far more formidable than anyone in the Galactic Council could have imagined. The stage was set for a conflict that would shake the very foundations of galactic civilization. The morning dawned like any other on Earth. In New York, Sarah Johnson yawned as she poured her coffee, unaware that it might be her last normal day. In Beijing, Li Wei stretched after a long night of coding, oblivious to the danger approaching from above. And in her African village, Amara Okafor smiled as she inspected her thriving crops, not knowing that everything was about to change. High above the planet, hidden behind the moon, General Krovak's massive fleet waited. The reptilian commander's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Begin the attack," he growled. Suddenly, the sky lit up with strange, pulsing lights. People everywhere stopped and stared, wondering if it was some new natural phenomenon. Then, without warning, beams of energy shot down from the heavens, striking major cities across the globe. In New York, Sarah watched in horror as the Empire State Building crumbled like a sandcastle. In Beijing, Lee's computer screen went black as an electromagnetic pulse swept through the city. And in Amara's village, people screamed as strange, metallic objects fell from the sky, unfolding into terrifying war machines. Panic spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to respond, but their missiles were swatted out of the air like flies. Fighter jets were blown apart before they could even get close to the alien ships. It seemed that humanity was defenseless against this overwhelming force. As chaos reigned, a few brave individuals began to organize. Sarah Johnson, her lab coat singed and dirty, led a group of survivors through the ruins of New York. "We need to find a safe place," she shouted over the sound of distant explosions. "And then we need to figure out how to fight back." In Beijing, Li Wei had managed to get his computer working again. His fingers flew over the keyboard as he tried to hack into the alien communication systems. Come on," he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. Amara Okafor stood on a hill, watching as alien walkers stomped through her carefully tended fields. Her fists clenched at her sides. "We will not let them take our home," she said to the group of villagers behind her. "We will fight." As the first day of the invasion wore on, the alien forces seemed unstoppable. But slowly, pockets of resistance began to form. In underground bunkers and hidden caves, humans gathered to plan their counterattack. General Krovak watched the destruction from his command ship, a cruel smile on his face. "These humans are even weaker than we thought," he said to his second-in-command. "We'll have this planet under our control within days." But he had underestimated the human spirit. In a secret military base deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a group of scientists and soldiers were working frantically. They had captured a downed alien ship and were trying to unlock its secrets. "Look at this," said Dr. Emily Chen, her eyes wide with excitement. "Their technology. It's not so different from ours, just more advanced. I think we might be able to adapt it." Meanwhile, in Europe, a group of hackers led by a Norwegian teenager named Eric had managed to intercept some alien communications. "They're not invincible," Eric told his team, his voice filled with hope. "They have weaknesses. We just need to find them." As night fell on the first day of the invasion, things looked bleak for humanity. Billions were dead or missing. Great cities lay in ruins. Alien war machines patrolled the streets and skies. But in hidden places all around the world, humans were coming together. They shared information, pooled resources, and made plans. The aliens had expected an easy victory. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. In her makeshift command center, Sarah Johnson looked at the determined faces around her. "They think they've won," she said, her voice steady and strong. "But this is just the beginning. We're humanity. We've faced extinction before, and we've always found a way to survive. This time will be no different." As she spoke, a cheer went up from the group. The fight for Earth had only just begun, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. 2 weeks had passed since the alien invasion began. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a grim determination that spread across the globe. Humanity, it seemed, was not ready to give up without a fight. In the underground lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Emily Chen hadn't slept for days. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but they sparkled with excitement as she called her team together. "We've done it," she announced, her voice hoarse but triumphant. "We've cracked their shield technology." The room erupted in cheers. This was the breakthrough they'd been waiting for. With this knowledge, they could start to level the playing field. Meanwhile, In the ruins of New York, Sarah Johnson led a daring raid on an alien outpost. Her team moved silently through the rubble, their homemade weapons at the ready. "Now," Sarah whispered into her radio. Suddenly, the night lit up with explosions. The aliens, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. But Sarah's team was already melting away into the shadows, leaving behind a destroyed communication array and several damaged alien vehicles. Across the world, similar scenes were playing out. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, and now they were pushing back with everything they had. In Beijing, Li Wei had become a hero to the resistance. His hacking skills had allowed them to intercept alien communications, giving them crucial intelligence. Now he was working on something even bigger. "If I can just..." "There!" Li exclaimed, pumping his fist in the air. On his screen, lines of alien code began to transform into readable text. "We can understand them now," he said to his awestruck team. "And if we can understand them, we can fool them," finished his second-in-command, a grin spreading across her face. In Africa, Amara Okafor had turned her farming knowledge into a powerful weapon. She had discovered that certain native plants, when burned, produced a smoke that interfered with alien sensors. Now her village had become a safe haven, hidden from the invaders' prying eyes. "They think they know our planet," Amara told a group of refugees. "But this is our home. We know its secrets, and we will use them all." Up in space, aboard his command ship, General Krovac was growing frustrated. What should have been a quick conquest had turned into a prolonged struggle. Reports of human victories were becoming more frequent, and his soldiers were growing uneasy. "How?" he roared, smashing his fist on a control panel. "How are these primitives doing this?" His second-in-command, Zix, stepped forward cautiously. "Sir, we've detected some unusual energy signatures from the planet. It seems the humans have adapted some of our technology." Krovac's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. They couldn't have learned so quickly. But the evidence was undeniable. Humanity's greatest strength, their adaptability, was turning the tide of the war. In a hidden base under the Atlantic Ocean, a team of international scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. They had taken the alien shield technology and improved upon it, creating a defense system that could protect entire cities. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the lead engineer, stepped back from her console with a smile. "It's ready," she announced. "We can deploy the shields whenever we're ready." The news spread quickly through the global resistance network. For the first time since the invasion began, hope blossomed in the hearts of humans everywhere. Back in New York, Sarah Johnson received the news with tears in her eyes. She turned to her team, her voice filled with emotion. "This is it," she said. "This is the turning point we've been waiting for." As dawn broke over a battered but unbroken Earth, humanity prepared to launch its counterattack. In labs and workshops, in hidden bases and ruined cities, people worked with renewed vigor. They had taken the aliens' advanced technology and made it their own, improving and adapting it in ways the invaders had never imagined possible. General Krovac, watching the planet from his ship, felt a chill run down his spine. Something had changed. The easy victory he had promised the Galactic Council now seemed far from certain. Little did he know, Earth was about to reveal its true strength. The aliens had awakened a sleeping giant, and now they were about to face the consequences of their arrogance. Humanity was ready to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate the human spirit. As Sarah Johnson led her team out of their hidden base, ready to test their new weapons, she smiled grimly. "Let's show these aliens what humans are really made of," she said. And across the planet, millions of voices seemed to answer, "We're ready." The day of humanity's counterattack dawned with an eerie calm. Across the globe, resistance fighters prepared for the most important battle in Earth's history. In hidden bunkers and secret bases, soldiers checked their weapons, a strange mix of human ingenuity and adapted alien technology. Sarah Johnson stood at the head of her team in New York, her eyes scanning the ruined skyline. "Remember," she said, her voice steady, "we're not just fighting for our city. We're fighting for our entire species." In Beijing, Li Wei sat surrounded by banks of computers, his fingers flying over the keyboards. "Initiating Operation Trojan Horse," he announced to his team. With a few keystrokes, he launched a virus into the alien communication network, sowing chaos and confusion among the invaders. Thousands of miles away, in her African village, Amara Okafor led a group of fighters through the tall grass. They carried strange devices that pulsed with an otherworldly energy, shields reverse-engineered from alien technology. "Today," Amara said softly, "we take back our land." High above the earth, General Krovac paced nervously on the bridge of his command ship. Something was wrong. His communications were garbled, his sensors were giving strange readings, and his ground forces were reporting. Was that music they were hearing? Suddenly, the ship rocked violently. Alarms blared as Krovac stumbled to his feet. "What's happening?" he roared. His second-in-command, Zix, looked up from a console, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Sir, we're under attack." From the surface. On the ground, Dr. Emily Chen stood in the control room of a massive rail gun, a weapon of her own design that combined human and alien technology. She watched with satisfaction as the giant projectile streaked towards the alien fleet. "Let's see how they like a taste of their own medicine," she muttered. The counterattack had begun in earnest. All over the world, humans emerged from hiding, armed with weapons that the aliens had never expected them to possess. Shields flickered to life around major cities, repelling alien energy beams. Hijacked alien walkers, now piloted by humans, stomped through the streets, engaging their former masters. In New York, Sarah led her team in a daring assault on an alien stronghold. They moved with practiced precision, their adapted weapons cutting through alien defenses like they were made of paper. "Push forward," Sarah yelled over the din of battle. "We've got them on the run." Li Wei's virus continued to wreak havoc on alien systems. Warships collided in orbit, their navigation systems gone haywire. On the ground, alien soldiers found themselves unable to communicate, their advanced weapons suddenly useless. In Africa, Amara's fighters emerged from the smokescreen of burning plants, their shields glowing as they deflected alien fire. The invaders, caught off guard by the humans' sudden appearance and unexpected technology, fell back in disarray. Dr. Chen's railgun continued to fire, each shot taking out another alien ship. The sky lit up with explosions as the once mighty invasion fleet began to crumble. On his command ship, General Krovac watched in horror as his forces were decimated. "This is impossible," he muttered, his scales pale with fear. They were primitives. How could they do this? Zix turned to his commander, his voice shaking. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from the surface. The humans, they're demanding our surrender." For a moment, Krovac could only stare in disbelief. Then, slowly he nodded. "Send the signal," he said quietly. "The battle is lost." As the alien surrender was broadcast around the world, cheers erupted from every corner of the globe. In New York, Sarah hugged her teammates, tears streaming down her face. In Beijing, Li pumped his fist in the air, shouting with joy. And in her village, Amara closed her eyes, savoring the sweet taste of victory. But even as they celebrated, Earth's defenders knew that this was only the beginning. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The Galactic Council would not take this defeat lightly. As the dust settled on the battlefield, Sarah Johnson looked up at the sky, where the remaining alien ships were retreating. "We've shown them what we can do," she said to her team. "Now let's show the rest of the galaxy." Around the world, humans began to prepare for the next phase of the war. They had tasted victory, and they were hungry for more. The galaxy had underestimated Earth once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. As night fell on a battered but victorious Earth, its people looked to the stars with new eyes. They were no longer just inhabitants of a single planet. They were a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy, and they were ready to take their place among the stars. In the weeks following Earth's initial victory, the planet buzzed with activity. Humans weren't content with merely defending their world. They wanted payback. The same ingenuity that had saved them from destruction was now focused on a single goal: taking the fight to the stars. Sarah Johnson stood on the bridge of the Resilience, Earth's first true starship. Built from the remnants of the alien fleet and human innovation, it represented humanity's leap into the galactic stage. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her veins. "All systems go, Captain," replied her second-in-command, a former fighter pilot named Jack Chen. "We're ready to make the jump to hyperspace." Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing Earth growing smaller. "Let's show these aliens what happens when you mess with humanity." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Li Wei was putting the finishing touches on a galactic communication network. Using the alien tech they'd captured, he'd managed to tap into the Galactic Council's own communication channels. "We're in," he announced to the room full of diplomats and military leaders. "We can now intercept and send messages across the galaxy." One of the diplomats, a stern-faced woman named Elena Volkov, stepped forward. "Excellent work, Mr. Wei. Now let's send our message to the Council." In Africa, Amara Okafor oversaw the construction of a massive defense grid. Towers bristling with a combination of human and alien weaponry rose from the Earth, ready to repel any future invasions. "We will never be caught off guard again," she said to her team, her voice filled with determination. Up in space, the Resilience emerged from its first hyperspace jump. The crew gasped as they saw an alien world before them, their first target in humanity's counterattack. "Life signs?" Sarah asked, her hand hovering over the weapons console. "Minimal," Jack replied. "Looks like a forward operating base, just as our intel suggested." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Perfect. Prepare the EMP cannons. Let's show them how it feels to be on the receiving end of a surprise attack." The Resilience swooped down on the unsuspecting alien base. Beams of energy lanced out, shorting out every piece of alien tech on the surface. Within minutes, the base was dark and silent. "Ground teams, you're up," Sarah announced. "Remember, we want prisoners and intel. The more we learn about their operations, the better we can hit them where it hurts." Back on Earth, Li Wei's eyes widened as he intercepted a flurry of panicked messages from the Galactic Council. "They're in chaos," he reported to Elena. "They can't believe we've managed to strike one of their bases." Elena nodded, a grim smile on her face. "Good. Send our message now. Let's see how they like our terms." Across the galaxy, members of the Galactic Council received an unexpected transmission. The aliens watched in shock as a human face appeared on their screens. "Greetings, Galactic Council," Elena's voice rang out, translated into dozens of alien languages. "You thought you could conquer Earth. You were wrong. Now you will face the consequences of your actions." She laid out humanity's demands: reparations for the damage done to Earth, a seat on the Galactic Council, and access to advanced technologies. "Refuse," she warned, "and we will continue to dismantle your empire, piece by piece." In the council chambers, panic set in. High Counselor Zax Terra, once so confident in their superiority, now looked pale and shaken. "How is this possible?" he muttered. "They were primitive, defenseless." But the evidence was undeniable. Humanity had not only repelled their invasion, but had now taken the fight to the stars. And they were proving to be a far more formidable enemy than anyone had anticipated. As the council debated their response, more reports flooded in. Human ships were appearing all over the galaxy, striking at key installations and disappearing before a response could be mounted. On the Resilience, Sarah Johnson received word of the council's panic with grim satisfaction. "Set course for the next target," she ordered. "The galaxy's about to learn a very important lesson." Jack nodded, inputting the coordinates. "And what lesson is that, Captain?" Sarah's eyes gleamed with fierce pride. Never underestimate humanity. We might bend, but we don't break. And when we hit back, we hit hard. As the Resilience jumped to hyperspace once more, Earth continued its relentless campaign. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, once a symbol of unity and power, now buzzed with fear and discord. Representatives from hundreds of alien species argued loudly, their voices echoing off the ornate walls. At the center of the chaos stood High Counselor Zax Terra, his iridescent skin pale with stress. "Order. I demand order," Zax Terra shouted, but his voice was lost in the commotion. Suddenly, the chamber fell silent as a hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. It showed the Resilience, Earth's flagship, decimating yet another alien military installation. "This is the 7th attack this week," a reptilian delegate hissed. "These humans are out of control." Out of control. A floating gas-base being pulsed angrily. "They're doing exactly what we tried to do to them. We brought this on ourselves." As the argument resumed, Zax Terra slumped in his chair. How had it come to this? Meanwhile, aboard the Resilience, Sarah Johnson watched the stars streak by as they traveled through hyperspace. Her crew, once novices in space travel, now moved with the confidence of seasoned veterans. "Captain," Jack Chen called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's Li Wei." Sarah nodded, and Li's face appeared on the main screen. He looked exhausted but excited. "Sarah, you won't believe this," Li said, his eyes wide. "We're getting messages from all over the galaxy, other species that have been oppressed by the Council. They want to ally with us." Sarah's eyebrows shot up. "Allies? Are you sure they can be trusted?" Li nodded vigorously. "Elena and her team have been vetting them. It seems our attacks have inspired others to stand up to the Council. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore, Sarah. We're leading a galactic revolution." As the Resilience continued its campaign, Earth was becoming a beacon of hope for oppressed species across the galaxy. Alien ships, bearing the flags of a dozen different worlds, began to appear in Earth's orbit, offering their support and technology. In Africa, Amara Okafor found herself hosting a delegation of alien scientists. They marveled at how quickly humans had adapted their technology. "Your species' ability to innovate is truly remarkable," a tentacled alien gurgled through its translator. "We believe that together, we can create defenses that the Council cannot hope to overcome." Amara smiled, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Then let's get to work. We have a galaxy to liberate." Back in the Council chambers, the situation was growing dire. More and more member species were declaring their independence, inspired by Earth's example. "We must sue for peace," a Avian Council member squawked. "Before we lose everything." Zax Terra shook his head. "And admit defeat to a species we considered primitive mere months ago. Unthinkable." "With all due respect, High Counselor," a new voice rang out, "I don't think we have a choice." All eyes turned to General Krovac, the once proud military leader now humbled by his defeat on Earth. "I've seen these humans in action," he continued. "They're unlike anything we've ever encountered. We must negotiate, or be destroyed." A murmur ran through the chamber. If even Krovac, known for his warmongering, was advocating for peace, their situation must truly be desperate. As the Council debated, Earth's influence continued to grow. The Resilience and its sister ships, now accompanied by vessels from a dozen alien races, struck at the heart of the Council's power. On Earth, Elena Volkov prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in human history. She would lead a delegation to the Council, not as supplicants, but as equals demanding justice. "Remember," she told her team as they boarded their ship, "we represent not just humanity, but all those who have suffered under the Council's rule. We must be strong, but also wise. This is our chance to reshape the galaxy." As Elena's ship lifted off, cheered on by humans and aliens alike, Sarah Johnson received new orders from Earth Command. The Resilience was to escort the diplomatic vessel, a show of strength to complement Alina's words. "Well, folks," Sarah announced to her crew, "looks like we're heading to the heart of the Council. Let's show them what humanity is really made of." As both ships jumped to hyperspace, the galaxy held its breath. The next few days would determine the fate of not just humanity, but countless species across the stars. The era of the Galactic Council's unchallenged rule was coming to an end, and a new age of cooperation and justice was dawning. Earth, once considered a primitive backwater, now stood at the forefront of a galactic revolution, and its people were ready to lead the charge into a new era of interstellar politics. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber swung open with a resounding boom. Alina Volkov strode in, her head held high, flanked by her diverse team of human diplomats and alien allies. The chamber, usually filled with the chatter of hundreds of species, fell silent. High Counselor Zaxterra rose from his seat, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of welcome that couldn't hide his nervousness. "Representatives of Earth," he began, his voice echoing in the tense silence. "We welcome you to the Galactic Council." Alina's eyes swept the room, taking in the mix of fear, curiosity, and resentment on the faces of the assembled aliens. "High Counselor," she replied, her voice steady and strong. "We come not as supplicants, but as equals. The time has come for a new order in the galaxy." Outside the Council's space station, the Resilience hung in space, a silent but powerful reminder of Earth's newfound strength. On the bridge, Sarah Johnson watched the proceedings via a secure feed, ready to act if negotiations went south. "They look scared," Jack Chen observed, standing at Sarah's side. Sarah nodded. "Good. Fear can be a powerful motivator for peace." Back in the Council chamber, Alina laid out Earth's terms. "We demand full recognition as a galactic power," she stated, her voice ringing with authority. "We seek reparations for the unprovoked attack on our world, and we insist on the immediate liberation of all oppressed species under Council rule." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Zaxterra's skin flickered with patterns of distress. "These demands are unprecedented," he stammered. "So was the attempted annihilation of our species," Alina countered, her eyes flashing. "Yet here we stand." As the negotiations continued, news of the historic meeting spread across the galaxy. On Earth, humans gathered around screens, watching with bated breath. In her village in Africa, Amara Okafor stood with her team and their alien scientist allies, all hoping for a peaceful resolution. In Beijing, Li Wei worked tirelessly, monitoring galactic communications. "The whole galaxy is watching," he murmured to himself, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "Everything is about to change." Hours passed in intense debate. Finally, Zaxterra called for a recess. As the Council members filed out to deliberate, Alina turned to her team. "We've got them on the back foot," she said. "Now we push for everything." When the session resumed, the atmosphere had shifted. There was a sense of resignation among the Council members. Zaxterra stood, his voice solemn. "After much discussion, we have decided to accept Earth's terms," he announced. "Furthermore, we propose a restructuring of the Galactic Council itself, with Earth as a founding member of the new order." A cheer went up from Alina's team. On the Resilience, Sarah and her crew exchanged looks of disbelief and joy. Across the galaxy, oppressed species celebrated as the news spread. In the following days, the galaxy witnessed a flurry of activity. The old Galactic Council was dissolved, replaced by a new galactic alliance. Earth, along with its alien allies, took a leading role in shaping the new galactic government. Sarah Johnson found herself promoted to Admiral of Earth's new interstellar fleet. As she stood on the bridge of the Resilience, now the flagship of a much larger armada, she couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. "Admiral," Jack called out, interrupting her thoughts, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's a global broadcast." On screens across the ship, Alina Volkov's face appeared. She stood at a podium, Earth's new flag, a symbol of unity that incorporated elements from all nations. Behind her, citizens of Earth and fellow sentients across the galaxy, Alina began, her voice filled with pride and hope. Today marks the dawn of a new era. Earth is no longer just our home. It is a beacon of freedom and justice for all species. We have faced our greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. Together with our new allies, we will forge a future of peace, prosperity, and exploration. As Alina's speech concluded, cheers erupted not just on Earth, but on countless worlds across the galaxy. The Resilience was hailed by ships from dozens of species, all celebrating the new alliance. Sarah looked out at the star-filled viewport, a smile on her face. "Well, folks," she said to her crew, "looks like our next mission is going to take us further than we ever dreamed. The galaxy's waiting for us." As the Resilience prepared to embark on its new mission of exploration and diplomacy, Earth stood tall as a galactic superpower. The planet that was once deemed primitive had reshaped the course of galactic history, proving that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its technology, but in its indomitable spirit and capacity for innovation. The stars, once so distant and unreachable, now beckoned to a humanity ready to take its place among them. The future was bright, filled with endless possibilities, and Earth was leading the way.